We had over 1 million layoffs, and one of the most frequently cited reasons for layoffs was AI. Is that the biggest fear that you have when it comes to artificial intelligence, mass layoffs, no one can find jobs, UBI? Is that the thing we should be afraid of?
I think so. I mean, if you say that's the biggest fear, I think the biggest fear is whatever swath of humanity, hopefully there's none, but there will be some, that I would say almost get quote unquote lost in the machine, if that makes sense, Mark. In other words, they're living a digital life or living in some sort of digital reality that is not real. They become disembodied. And so that would be my biggest concern. My two most pressing concerns, kind of in order. Number one, disinformation. Of course, it's really hard, becoming harder to know, what came from a human, what came from a machine. I think we're going to get really good at kind of figuring that out. Whatever's produced by AI is almost too perfect. It's flat. It misses some of the messiness of humanity. And I believe that AI is a cosmic mirror to humanity, and that I hope it returns us to the beauty of being human. And that is part of the mess. So that's challenge number one. Challenge number two, definitely job loss. I ran for governor in the state of Utah. One of the things that I learned when I ran for governor is that the biggest leading indicator of civil unrest is unemployment of males between 18 and 40 years old. So, and I think that there is pain to come in that regard. Obviously there will be job displacement and job change. I talk about, in the last book written by a human, I talk about how AI is a crucible for humanity to pass through together. And the reason I bring that up now is to say, this is part of the crucible. What's real? What's not? What do we do when a machine is better at doing so much of what we as humans have been doing? So these are existential questions that we're certainly going to have to grapple. And yeah, am I concerned? Absolutely. That's why I wrote this weird book. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur and I never thought about writing a book, but this book just kind of came through me, felt like it had to be written, and I wrote it.
What careers do you think are most at risk from AI? If your kids think about going into college, think I'm going to go into this career, which careers would you say, steer clear of that one?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've taught entrepreneurship as an adjunct professor to thousands of students since the governor race. I ran for governor in 2020 lost during the pandemic at the university right down the street from me, BYU. And there's a lot of talk about this, right? Rather than maybe, some people think it's going to be blue collar, some people think it's going to be white collar, et cetera, et cetera. Rather than talk about maybe industries or jobs, what I like to focus the students on, because that's like just a prediction. I don't like making unnecessary predictions. Here are some things that here are some skills that will never go out of style. Number one, connecting to humans. Having this conversation, Mark. In other words, soft communication skills, connecting heart to heart, eyeball to eyeball, feeling into each other. So these soft human skills will never go out of style. Number one. Number two, art and creativity. Obviously AI is getting better and better at mimicking art, doing images, etc. But there is something about the artistic process that is both transformative to us as individuals and to the collective human body, but also something that resonates deeply inside of us. So I think that everyone has a book or a podcast or whatever inside of them. And as our machines get more and more efficient, as they get better at doing so much of what we may be used to doing, it actually gives us more time to lean into our being. We are human beings, after all, not human doings. And so I think anything that allows us to be present and lean into that being, real human, authentic connection, number one. And then number two, leaning into art that speaks to us, that is unique to us, and that can resonate and help transform other humans. There's two areas or thoughts or ideas that I would give the audience.
The idea of human creativity, I think, is very interesting to me, Jeff. You're probably aware OpenAI just signed $1 billion deal with Disney. And historically, you need a huge studio, lots of people to create all this creative work. But nowadays, it looks like Disney is making a huge play towards user-generated content, specifically relying on AI. Don't you feel like, and by the way, a lot of these big creative unions, Josh Gordon-Levitt just came out creating an organization for creators and creatives. Doesn't AI just suck up all the creative jobs where you maybe needed 100 people in a studio, now you need 5? What's going to happen to creators in this new AI world?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. And let me just say that the future is unknown. The future is a fiction, actually, Mark. It only exists in our mind, and we only get to the future in every present moment. So again, rather than try to predict an unknown future that none of us know, I think that we can rely on some bedrock principles, some of which I have spoken about. And one of those is I think human creation will always have an audience, will always have a market. Now, what you said is very true, but this is true for every industry. Are all industries or most industries going to be disrupted? Absolutely. Will the way that we work be different? Absolutely. Again, as I taught these thousands of entrepreneurial students at BYU, there was a big discussion within the business school. Do we let AI into the classroom? Do we not? And at first it was out, out, out. I was an advocate for saying, no, we need to bring it in. We can't put our heads in the sand. We can't pretend that AI isn't happening. AI is going to happen and is happening. So it's up to us as humans to pivot in the way that we work. So I don't know, like industries are going to be massively disrupted. A lot of creative jobs and other jobs will be learning to work with AI as a companion. I think that will be a new skill that will be critical in the days to come in almost every industry. But let me just say, do I have concerns? Hell yeah, I have concerns. I'm a human. I have 4 kids, this is why I wrote the book. However, the last book written by a human is the bull case for AI. It's kind of what we could create. What are the possibilities for humanity if we focused this technology on human flourishing?